versus Timu. Who exactly owns the copyright to a picture or a piece of photograph? Hello guys, I'm Janet Odoye. I am a music lawyer and I'm also a music publisher. And here we talk about the music business, copyright laws, music law, and all that. So if you're not aware, a UK court made a ruling last week concerning a copyright infringement case brought against Temu, the e-commerce website, by SHEIN, another e-commerce website. In the lawsuit, SHEIN is alleging that Temu committed or did a industrial scale copyright violation by letting merchants lift up pictures of products from SHEIN and using it to promote or sell their product on Temu. And the court ruled that there was no reason for Temu to believe that the pictures being showcased on their website by merchants were lifted up from SHEIN's website, and Temu is not liable for copyright infringement. So now this brings us to the question of who exactly owns the copyright to a picture or a piece of photograph and all that. So now let me give an illustration. So maybe you want to do a birthday shoot, a graduation shoot, a corporate headshot, and you reach out to a photographer and tell them, okay, this is what I want. These are the dates, these are the details, blah, 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 blah. And you guys agree on a fee or on a price for taking those pictures. And so the photographer takes the pictures, everybody is happy, blah, 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 blah. Then all of a sudden you find that those same pictures are being used to promote the photographer's work, or the photographer uses the picture in a way that doesn't really sit right with you. So do you think you have a case against that photographer, and do you think you can bring any lawsuit against that photographer using your pictures in a way you don't like? So we have to take your recourse to the Nigerian copyright laws. Section 39 of the Nigerian copyright law says that the owner of a photograph or a picture is the person that took the picture, except where there's a situation whereby the photographer is working under a labor contract or in the course of employment. So that we can say that, okay, this photograph doesn't belong to the photographer. Or in the case of a work or hire where the person whose pictures are taken or another person who directs that the pictures be taken by the photographer has commissioned the photographer to take those pictures. That's what the law says. So if it's not a work for hire, if the photographer is not working in the course of employment under an employment contract, there has to be a written contract in place where the person who paid for the photographs to be taken will say that the ownership in those photographs is transferred to them. So in the case of the photographer, what I just talked about and said and gave that illustration, if a photographer takes your pictures with his device, even if your friend takes your pictures with their device, according to the law, they own the copyright to those pictures and they're allowed to use and exploit those pictures anywhere or anyhow they want. So they can sell those pictures, they can use those pictures as stock images, they can sell it to other third-party websites to use those pictures however they like, because the law already empowers them to use those pictures that they took of you anyhow they want, use and exploit it. But then again, there's something called image rights. So this is the right to your personality, right to your look, and is only guaranteed by the Constitution, which is under the right to privacy. That is where the image rights issue can come in, but at the same time, it is not substantial enough to say that photographer shouldn't use those pictures with so the only recourse you can fall on is to make sure that you agree with the photographer that, okay, as long as you are taking these pictures, I would like that I own the copyright to these pictures. So the photographer might want to charge an higher fee to transfer that copyright to you. And you need to understand that you cannot just transfer that copyright by word of mouth. It has to be by a written contract signed by you and the photographer, because The Nigerian copyright law provides that for an exclusive license or for an assignment to be valid, it has to be in writing. So it's not really about just paying. Ownership of copyright in a photograph is not transferred by just paying, or maybe paying higher to not let your pictures be posted. Even if you orally agree with the photographer that you don't want your pictures posted, they can always sell your pictures. You understand? Because they still own the copyright to those photographs, irrespective of whatever oral agreements you guys have together. So if you don't want a situation whereby any picture you appear in, the photographer can use it however they like, you can always sign a written contract with the photographer that, okay, kindly transfer the ownership of the copyright in these photographs or this picture to me, and you're not able to use it however you want to use it. But if you're just making a payment for services, it's just a payment for services. It doesn't mean the photographer cannot use those pictures however they like. And also concerning image rights, I remember I went for this music industry event last week, organized by the US Chamber of Commerce, and I noticed that we're all asked to sign a release form to say that our images or the pictures taken would be used, posted on their social media platforms, or would be used for promotion and all of that. So in this case, the organizers or whoever paid the photographers that worked at the event would be the owner if it was commissioned, or it just depends on whatever arrangement. I don't want to really like give some assumptions, but it just depends on the kind of agreement they have with the photographer that took pictures at the event. Was there a contract between the organizers of that music industry event and the photographers that they will own the photograph, or do these photographers work with the US Chamber of Commerce or other organizers to use? Do they work with them? Their contract, does the contract say that whatever intellectual property? So again, when it comes to an employment contract between a photographer and an employer, so does the contract of employment say that, oh, this photograph, whatever intellectual property you created during the course of your employment with us, belongs to the employer? It has to be stated in that agreement, or it's a work of for hire, or it is a commission. Also say that whatever intellectual property or pictures taken during the course of this employment is a work for hire. So in this case, let's just assume that the US Chamber of Commerce and the organizers of the event owns the photograph. They still own the photograph, but they still need your permission to post those pictures that you appear in, or those videos that you appear in, because they understand the importance of your image rights. I hope I've made myself clear. If you're the type that went to a makeup artist and you allowed the makeup artist to take your pictures, and you saw that they posted the pictures, and you become really aggrieved that, oh, why would they post my pictures? Or you now reached out to the makeup artist, and the makeup artist is saying that, if you want them to take down the pictures, you need to pay another fee to make sure you're not posted. I'd rather just say you do a proper contract that transfers the ownership of those pictures to you, and let's call it a day, because you will not win against a makeup artist. She's within her right to do whatever she needs to do with those pictures. So image right, generally, they are really not strong regulations to regulate it. It's only covered by the constitution. So better safe than sorry. Thank you guys. Once again, I'm Janet Odue. I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye guys.